The old-school cowboy's reluctant journey to a colonoscopy. The wild, untamed frontier, where cowboys roamed free, beer flowed like water, and the greatest fear wasn't outlaws or rattlesnakes, it was a little old tube that dared to venture where no man's gone before. Meet Frank, a rugged 50-year-old cowboy, old school to the bone. He's a firm believer in two things: the sanctity of a man's rectum, and that toilet paper is the only thing allowed to touch it.
Why do I need a colonoscopy? I feel fine, and no doctor is going near my rear.
But Frank's family has other ideas. His wife reminds him about their neighbor, Bill. Bill didn't get screened and, well, let's just say, Bill's not riding horses anymore. His kids chime in too, insisting he'd be selfish not to get checked.
Fine, I'll go, but only for an annual checkup.
Frank hasn't seen his internist in over 20 years. He walks in like a cowboy facing a showdown.
Hey, Doc, remember me? It's Frank. I'm here for an annual checkup.
Annual? Frank, your wife's here 3 times a year. Last time I saw you, Bill Clinton was in office.
Frank spills the beans about his habits: a few beers a day, a few cigarettes. And family history? Well, he's not sure, but that neighbor story sure stuck with him.
All right, Frank, blood work, and you're overdue for a colonoscopy. Here's a referral to a gastroenterologist.
Oh, great. Can't wait.
A few weeks later, Frank finds himself face-to-face with a gastroenterologist, a man who, as Frank sees it, specializes in, well, invading personal spaces. Gastroenterologist. Frank, a colonoscopy is the gold standard for detecting and preventing colon cancer. Risks? Sure, they're minimal, a small chance of bleeding or infection, but the benefits far outweigh them. Frank's legs start to shake. Beads of sweat form on his brow.
Doc, I've got 2 problems. 1, I'm old school. No one's ever seen my... not even me. 2, I don't trust anesthesia. Gastroenterologist. I hear you, Frank, but it's either this or we try an alternative Cologuard. It's a stool test that checks for blood and abnormal DNA. Stool test sounds less invasive.
I, as the narrator, completely empathize with this cowboy. I'm getting up in age myself, and let me tell you, I've had my fair share of colonoscopies. Never a pleasant experience, but absolutely necessary. But enough about me. Let's get back to Frank and his journey. Modern medicine, meet old school cowboy. Frank receives his Cologuard kit, a box, a container, and instructions that he follows to the letter.
All right, let's get this over with.
He fills the container, seals it up, and practically sprints to FedEx. No way is that box sitting in his house any longer than necessary. Frank's blood work, perfect, but the Cologuard, abnormal. His gastroenterologist breaks the news.
Frank, this result means there's a possibility of precancerous or cancerous changes. We need to proceed with a colonoscopy.
Frank spirals. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Finally, he gives in.
All right, Doc, let's do this, but knock me out. I don't want to remember a thing.
The day arrives. Frank's prepped, sedated, and ready. The procedure is quick and painless. He wakes up groggy but eager for news.
Frank, we removed a few polyps. One looked abnormal, but pathology will confirm.
Frank's anxiety kicks back in. Days feel like years, but finally the call comes.
Good news, Frank. All benign. But because of those polyps, we'll need to repeat the colonoscopy in 3 years.
3 years? That's practically retirement for me.
Frank, the old-school cowboy, conquered his fear. His family couldn't be prouder. And deep down, neither could he.
All right, modern medicine, you win this round.
Colon cancer is preventable, folks. If you're 45 or older, talk to your doctor about screening. Whether it's a colonoscopy or a stool test like Cologuard, early detection can save your life. Like this video, subscribe to The Vital Dose and share it with someone who needs a nudge or a good laugh. This video is for educational purposes only. Always consult your healthcare provider for personalized medical advice.